All right. So the first one we're going to read is from Beneath the Endless Night. It's our weekly installment. Sabotage. 24 humans, their faces mostly covered with makeshift masks, slunk into the Batsa district under cover of darkness. Some were armed with weapons, though most carried workday tools like crowbars and wrenches. They planned to infiltrate the Elixni quarter and find evidence of aggression. If that failed, they would send a clear message that the House of Light was unwelcome in the city. Knives tore into banners, noxious fumes filled the air, paint cans rattled. The hum of the machinery around them disguised the sounds of their labor while hushed voice conferred in terse conspiratorial tones. "I think this is their food," a young woman whispered to her male companion while warily looking over her shoulder. She didn't see anybody as they crouched by a large ether tank, but she imagined the Elixni crowded together in a nearby building. Did they even sleep? "Here, give me a hand with this," her companion said, pointed to what he guessed was a control panel. Together they pried the faceplate off, revealing a mess of wiring beneath, not whirring. They shared a furtive glance and began pulling out the wires by the fistful, hands shaky, blood pounding in their ears. A low whistle like a bird call fluttered through the night air. When they looked up, a hunter stood over them only a few paces away, his face shadowed by a cowl. He held his hand cannon at hip level, aimed straight at them. Their co-conspirators, drawn by the sound, gathered in their periphery, mentally calculating their chances. Not a single one liked the odds. Even those who came armed expected to fight the Fallen, not a Guardian. The hunter called out in a half-whisper, "I don't want any trouble." The woman stood frozen as the young man beside her moved towards the hunter, his jaw set. "No," his companion hissed. "Are you crazy?" She grabbed his arm to haul him behind the ruined ether tank, but he wrenched free. The young man stepped slowly towards the hunter. "You're on the wrong side of this thing," he started. The hunter pulled back on his hand cannon's hammer with an audible click. "I don't think I am," he replied. Unwilling to test the hunter's mettle, the young man called over his shoulder, "Let's go." The hunter narrowed his eyes. He watched as the young man slinked past him and spat at his feet. Something old and terrible rose up inside the hunter. It took all of his focus to steady his hand. The conspirators peeled away from their hiding places one by one, disappearing into the dark. Some hissed choice insults and disparations at the hunter under their breath, though none dared to look at him. In just a few minutes, the block was deserted except for the hunter, who stood alone in the street until his ghost compiled over his shoulder. It chirped with concern. You wouldn't really have shot them, right?" The hunter hesitated as he holstered his weapon. "They needed to know I was serious, Glint." "But you weren't," his ghost insisted. Wordlessly, the hunter began making his way through the destruction. Someone would sound the alarm soon, and he didn't want to be here when they did. "Tell me you weren't serious," his ghost said again, lagging behind. "Were you?" So Crow is watching out for the Elixni. He previously asked Zavala to be the envoy, and Zavala said no, that he didn't want the city knowing about him until the time was right.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, the only people who really know about him are Zavala, Ikora, and Osiris.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, what if somebody finds out before they, like, especially because like that's going to cause a big.
I mean, I guarantee you by the end of the season, people are going to know who Crow is.
Right, but I mean, like we're talking about how there might be a split in the tower if the wrong person finds out who Crow is, right? And they know, and then they find out that Zavala and Ikora know, and hiding it from them. That's going to cause a huge stir, especially if it's someone like Saladin, right?
Yes and no. I think that Saladin would understand. I ironically think like Amanda would actually probably take it the hardest because her and Cade were very close.
Yeah.
But I am curious to see. However, I think her and Hawthorne didn't really know Uldren, but she knows of him.
Yeah.
I think Hawthorne may actually take it a little bit hard too. Eris almost certainly would.
Yeah.
Kind of curious to see what happens, though. I mean, it's pretty clear at this point that Crow is going to be the Hunter Vanguard.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Which one gets here. And good, because he's secretly the best written character in the game right now.
Yeah.
It's like not even a secret anymore.
Yeah, I was like, it's not even a secret.
It's not even a secret.
I was going to say, it's not even a secret. It's like pretty obvious, actually.
All right. The next one that we are going to read, I had to decide which one I was going to do. I was going to do, I don't know. 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 I was going to do, I Yeah, we're gonna do Sojourner's Truth first. Speaking of Crow, this is gonna kind of go back to what we talked about. I think we read this one last week before we read about the coup. Um, Crow has been secretly stealing supplies from Spider, like riches, and sending them to Mithrax in Spider's name, though.
Ooh.
And Saint and Amanda kind of know he's doing it because he always draws a crow. He always draws a bird on the manifest list. So they know it's not really coming from Spider, and the Elixni like kind of know that too.
Yeah.
This one's for Sojourner's Tale. Home is just over the horizon. The pipes are silent. Ether production is paused during batch loading, and in that interstitial time, Spider's lair feels like a tomb. Every creak and groan of his throne becomes excruciatingly pronounced. Spider reclines against one arm, rolling a dead ghost shell in one hand, scraping a clawed finger across its gray, lifeless eye. The arrival of a trusted associate pulls Spider from his thoughts. Avrock, Spider bellows, turning his attention to the armored Elixni striding through the doorway. What did you find? Avrock approaches the throne, wriggling his hands together anxiously. Our thief, my lord. Spider leans forward with the groan of the cable suspending his throne. And what did you do to them? He asked in greedy anticipation. That, however, is where Avrock falters. I did not catch them, my lord. Avrock humbly answers, his much smaller frame eclipsed in Spider's shadow. But I have a name. Out with it, Spider grouses, falling back against his throne with deflated interest. The Crow. Spider's blood turns to fire. His grip tightens on the dead ghost so hard its shell cracks. Spider continues squeezing until the glass eye completely pops. Then he takes a moment to compose himself. Our little bird come home to the nest so soon. Tell me everything. He was able to infiltrate the storehouse, Avrock explains, and coerced a team of laborers to offload cargo promised to the Empress onto a skiff, which he then stole, along with a cache of your more personal belongings, among which was the quantum opal. Avrock shrinks lower, lower, lower. The supplies were delivered to Mithrax in your name as a gift. And the workers, Spider growled, they're gone? Avrock doesn't mean to make it sound like a question and regrets taking the tone immediately. To where exactly? Avrock takes a small step back from Spider's throne. Left? He clenches his jaws. With the Crow? Spider slowly leans forward again. For Earth, Avrock concludes. The ether pipes begin to hum and rattle as a new batch begins production elsewhere in the complex. The noises rise in intensity, turning the familiar hissing wail that joins with the uncomfortable sound of Spider laughing. The Baron of the shore throws his dead ghost at Avrock, who ducks away from it, covering his head with his hands. He's taking them to Mithrax, Spider says, between fitful chuckles and wheezing coughs. He steals from me and gives it to the House of Light. Unbelievable. Though behind the laughter and coughs, there is a hint of appreciation in his tone. The kid's grown a spine. There is, Avrock starts, offering Spider a folded piece of paper. One more thing. He left this behind. Spider's seal was scribbled on one side. For you. As Spider unfolds the note, Avrock creeps further away from the throne. Inside, nothing more than a crude drawing and a rude missive. That little The pipes are howling. This is like secretly really great. I really, really, really like this. It shows Spider's completely aware of what Crow is doing, and I almost wonder if he'll have a role to play in this.
Yeah.
But I also want to know, who is the Empress that they're talking about? Is that Keitel? Or is it somebody else that we don't know about yet?
Is there like a...
There's nobody left in the fall.
I mean, yeah.
There's literally nobody left unless they start inventing more people.
I mean, they could, I guess, like bring in a fallen... I don't know.
Aramis would have been the closest.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of us are of the opinion Aramis is not actually dead.
No, dude, you left her frozen at the top of the... I don't know. Could be Keitel. Maybe
it could be Keitel. I'm a little curious to know.
Maybe Spider
Avrock
made
is somebody
a deal.
who keeps popping up in the lore since Beyond Light. I'm kind of curious to see if Avrok, because Spider is almost certainly going to be a boss at some point.
Yeah, like in a raid, you think?
We're gonna
or like a dungeon?
I think it'll be more of a dungeon. I think we're going to have to kill Spider at some point.
Yeah, a dungeon would be cool, like on the Tangled Shore, where maybe he you know how Mithrax is super into or that the whole house is into the tech and stuff and experimenting with tech. What if Spider does and it's in the wrong hands, or maybe he finds, I don't know, maybe he goes to Europa and takes what's left of Tanix's stuff or something. I don't know. There's some things I feel like you could do that are interesting. Maybe not, in the way of the story going that direction or whatever. But I think if you want to make Spider a boss, you could definitely see him he sees all these Fallen doing, experimenting with tech. Maybe he tries and he fails and he becomes some sort of weird mutant tech Fallen. Maybe his chair just floats around and you have to shoot him Robotnik style and Sonic. Maybe he just kind of flies around. But you know what I mean?
I would imagine that Spider has to be a boss at some point.
Yeah. Maybe he
make him operate Tanix style.
Or maybe Tanix survives and he saves Tanix.
Oh God, not again.
No, I'm serious. No. What if he goes to Europa?
I know, not again. No, Tanix can't. I literally have his head in my little igloo hut.
That doesn't. No, it's a robot head. It's a fake head.
He's dead. Tanix is dead. You can quit bringing Tanix back. It's not fun anymore. It's not fun. It's not creative. Get better. You're better than this, and you know it, Bungie.
Maybe Tanix has a daughter, and that's the Empress.
Fuck you. So our last one is going to be ignition code. I can't decode anything, I can decode anything with a grenade launcher. Saint 14. Ahura hauled a metal crate from the dropship towards the haphazard Elixni settlement. He moved slowly, matching the pace of his malnourished workmates. Though he had fasted during his trip, Ahura knew that his solid frame still made him a standout. He feared it would reveal him as the imposter and infiltrator he was, even while dressed as a House Salvation deserter. During the trip to Earth, Ahura had been overawed. The last city looked like the perfect ripple of light from above, dropped from the impassive form of the great machine. Ahura wondered for the first time in his life if Spider was wrong about the Guardians. But his misgivings evaporated as soon as he emerged from the dropship. Rather than living in gleaming city of crystal, the Elixni were packed into the bombed-out ruins of a war zone. The area they'd been given appeared to be on the verge of collapse. Ahura sneered inwardly. Did the Guardians really believe the Elixni could be pacified so cheaply? That they were content to live under the boots of the Vanguard, gnawing at scraps? Perhaps it was true for fools like Mithrax, his awoken, raised hatchling, and cowards like the Empty Weaver. But Spider's acquiescence would not be so easily bought. In fact, Ahura thought, the Spider could probably own this settlement within a year. The generosity and goodwill of House Light would soon crumble to greed and hubris, as they all did. And once Spider's syndicate had a foothold, they would make the Vanguard pay in glimmer, weapons, ether, and blood. So the Vanguard's got a lot of problems on literally every single side of this right now. And it's not great.
Mm-mm.
This is not good. Not at all. Not even a little bit. This is actually low-key terrifying for the Vanguard right now. They have a coup in their own house, and then they've got this shit going on.
Yeah.
So it's not really.
They need to figure it out. They need to
just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
No, it's not.
It's not great.
You think this is going to be a odd question, but do you think the Vanguard gets eliminated at some point? They just do away with the Vanguard and then they just
I think the Vanguard will be gone by the time the Witch Queen rolls around. If it's not done by the time Witch Queen does, I think the events of that probably will cause the Vanguard to break.
You think they'll be
because they're singing Savathun's song in the streets right now. It's pretty clear that at some point something's gonna give in terms of the city and the leadership.
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen. So I'm curious to see what that ultimately is.
Yeah. It's going to be, the city's going to get destroyed and the helm's going to take off. And then
I think so.
And then the helm is like to fight Savathun. They're going to hover out in space past like Jupiter. Maybe that's when we get Titan back. And then, right, like you can have a base on Titan. Maybe it's a different section of Titan. And then Savathun is on the Dreadnought around Saturn.
Yeah, I've thought for a while that we're going to take control of the Dreadnought. Mm-hmm. My personal fan theory was that the city would get eliminated, and like, of course, by the end of Destiny, 3 or whatever, we'll be rebuilding the city, or when we leave for another galaxy. But it would be a fleet, and it would be the ships of Dead Orbit, the Dreadnought, and the Leviathan. The Leviathan's gone. That thing's toast.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that Mithrax's ships, Keitel's remaining army, and us would create an alliance against Savathun. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, we've been saying this, like, it felt like it last year during, like, Shadowkeep and everything, and it's really felt like it more now that this is, with Saint back, with Mithrax on board, we've met and defeated Keitel's champions in combat. Mm-hmm. This, and I don't believe for a second we won't have to kill her eventually.
Yeah.
But for right now, this is like the Avengers Assemble moment of the Destiny universe, and we're progressing very, very, very quickly towards that.
Yeah, Keitel definitely feels like the enemy of my enemy is my friend type situation, right? Where definitely gonna,
Yeah, it absolutely is. So, I mean, she even makes it really clear, like, this is not a truce, this is a pause, essentially.
Right.
But she's even told Zavala, in the lore that we've read, that, she trusts him to keep his promise. She does not trust whoever might replace him.
Right.
So